Welcome to Leadership Talk, the official Waymaker podcast, where we explore how your organization can achieve more by doing less. Welcome to Leadership Talk, the official Waymaker podcast. I'm your host, Craig Heineman. With me, as always, is Stuart Leo, CEO and founder of Waymaker. How are you, mate?
Good morning, Craig. I'm great. It's winter time here in Australia, which means
it's not really in Queensland though. Let's be honest.
I know, but we did have a thunderstorm just then. It's beautiful blue skies now. Hey, life is pretty good, isn't it? At 20-something degrees in winter.
So you and I have been actually talking for probably the last hour, and I thought we'll probably should hit record. Capture some of these insights. What do you think?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's maybe what our listeners don't always understand is that before most podcasts, there's probably about 20, 30, 40 minutes of just, hello, how you going? We do get to the point where we go, whoops, we better record a podcast.
Yeah, we probably should record. But and we were talking about a whole bunch of stuff around the idea of leadership. And we wanted to talk today on this podcast about, Leadership 101, but from a Waymaker perspective.
Yeah. And I think that's because, Waymaker as a platform is designed to help you be a better leader and to help you build better leaders. So it's at its heart, we know that better leaders build better organisations and build self-sustaining organisations. So that's really at the very core and heart of what we're doing. Yes, Waymaker is software and Waymaker is a toolkit of stuff, but at its essence, if we're not helping people become leaders and be better leaders, then I don't think we're doing our job. And so, that's the big idea for today.
That's awesome. And obviously, Stu, that if you've got a great business idea and you start a business, obviously you're a great leader, right?
Yeah, I think sure. I think the fear sometimes in talking about leadership is most people go, I'm not a great leader. I can't talk about leadership. And that's like people going, well, I'm not a great cook. I can't talk about cooking. No, everybody loves to cook. We all lead in different ways, at different levels, in different things as we go about our day. Leadership, it's a skill, it's a muscle that we use. I'm not sitting here pretending to be the world's greatest leaders. If I lined up all my leadership mistakes against all my leadership successes, I'd probably cry and go home. But I think leadership is one of those things that if we don't talk about, we're not leading. And so we need to grab the bull by the horns and go, okay, one of the ultimate things that powers an organisation is this gift of leadership that we have as people, and how do we grow it and build it, and how do we become students of leadership in order to be better leaders.
And one of the things that I've heard said about a lot of bosses and CEOs over time, not specifically the ones that I've worked in, but you just hear this saying that, they're a great manager, but they're not a great leader. What's the difference? How
do we pull that difference apart? So I think this speaks to the essence of a lot of what we're going to talk today. So let's set this context.
All right.
We come from the viewpoint that leadership and management are two very different things. And the problem is people execute the skills of leadership and management, and sometimes we confuse the skills of leadership and the skills of management. And I think we should put it this way. A human being leads and manages all at the same time, and it's at different times is flexing the muscle of leadership versus flexing the muscle of management, if I could put it that way. And so if we put a real quick definition to what leadership and management is, And I think we've absorbed this from great leaders before us. This isn't our own thinking, but leadership is simply getting somebody from point A to point B. So how do we get somebody or a group of people from point A to point B? I love that. It's that thinking is what sits at the very heart of our methodology, the experience curve, beginning of point to end of point A to point B. How do we get a group of people from an idea to mature market leadership? And that's the great excitement of organisations. Management is actually helping people do the right things at the right time in the right way on the journey from point A to point B. And that's two very different things. And they require two different skill sets to get people from point A to point B. And I think what often happens is we look at individuals and people and we go, oh, they're a great leader but not a great manager, or they're a great manager and not a great leader. And all good leaders should be good managers, and all good managers should be good leaders. And that is a sometimes controversial statement.
Is that in some wonderful magical world?
Yeah, here's this world we prepared earlier called Utopia.
That's right. Yeah.
No, it's not. Some of the best leaders I've worked for, with, or around have been considered the lowest levels of management in an organisation. And so what we can't confuse is, they're the CEO or they're the business X person, therefore they're the leader. Well, no, a leader is just somebody who gets somebody or a group of people from point A to point B. And the skill of management is helping them do the right things at the right time, in the right way, along that journey. And so we should recognise that great leadership and great management actually is a skill that needs to sit in every member of the organisation, not what is often called the leadership team. Or, that's just, I really hate that term because you run an organisation, a business, that is a leadership team. Come up with another term for it because you create this wall between people who think they are leaders and who think they're not leaders. If there's somebody in that organisation that has a responsibility to meet an objective, then they are leading and managing to get to that objective. And organisations that I've just had, a great opportunity to thrive in, and you would probably think back on times like this yourself, is when that culture permeates, that there isn't this one group of people who are leaders and this other group of people who are doers, but rather leadership is a skill, a muscle that we learn and do, and management is a skill, a muscle that we learn and do. And when we do that, we transform our thinking, we change our mindset, and we begin to think differently about how we work with people. And that, I think, is the very first step in thinking about leadership.
This great philosopher once said, Stuart Leo,
sorry for laughing.
If you build leaders, your business happens.
I think, because I think by default, good leaders do recognise good management. And I think we should put a definition to that or an explanation to that.
Yep.
Leaders lead people. Managers people manage systems. I stumbled across my own things. Let me say that again.
Yep.
Leaders lead people and people manage systems.
Right.
We do not manage people and we do not lead systems. So leaders lead people, people manage systems. People never manage people, and people never lead systems. And if we get that
should never,
should never. Yeah, and if we get that ass about, then we tend to end up on our ass. And so I think often if we look back on our own errors or mistakes in leadership and management, often it's where we get those two things wrong. And so the 101 in leadership and management, leadership getting people from A to B, management helping them do the right things on the right way. Leaders lead people, people manage systems, but leaders never manage people. And we leave bad leaders when we feel managed and not led. And so I think I've done that to people. They're my mistakes in the past, and I've had that done to me, and that they're the mistakes I've felt in the past. And when I've done it the right way around, it's transformational to the relationship. It's when we are humans first and workers second, and that's transformational often to many organisations to get that foundation right. And so let me just repeat it again. Leadership is getting people or somebody from point A to point B. Management is making sure they do the right things in the right way at the right time. Leaders lead people and people manage systems, but people never manage people, and people should never lead systems. And when we get that ass about, we end up on our ass. So I think if we establish that as foundational thinking, then we've got somewhere to go.
That's cool. So we're talking about like maybe a different approach to leadership through Waymaker. So the Waymaker way, the Waymaker approach to leadership, and you've got some. Well, we have some frameworks to think through in terms of the Waymaker approach to leadership. Yeah,
and look, our job is to give you a platform, a software platform and a methodology. What you do with it, up to you. You can choose to use this as much or as little as you like, but we're here to help you. Hopefully this helps you do the right things in the right way and helps you lead people towards better goals. And so we talk about a Waymaker mantra, and Waymaker is designed under the context of this mantra. So the Waymaker mantra is show the way, build the system, train the leader, hold them accountable, and help them win. It's a 5-step mantra, and it actually intertwines the ideas and skills and muscles of leadership and management through that mantra. So I'll say it again. The Waymaker mantra is show the way. Let me say that again. Show the way. I've got to remember my own mantra. Show the way, build the system, train the leader, hold them accountable, help them win. And we should unpack that a little bit, because I want to show how the platform has that ethos baked into it. So it helps you be a better leader and helps you build better leaders.
Awesome. All right. Well, let's start with show the way then.
Well,
easy.
Easy. The first way we show the way is actually when you turn on Waymaker, you take your first diagnostic, and you end up with a benchmark. We call it an X score, and it plants you on a curve. You know, we talked about getting from point A to point B. Point A in Waymaker is an idea. This organisation was once an idea. Point B is probably more like point Z, but it's market leadership. It's the top of the curve, ready for the next point A. And so we want to help people, organisations get from point A to point B. And so the very first thing we do is show the way. And to show the way, you have to know where you are on the way. And so our diagnostic reveals a benchmark, and that benchmark is an X score, and you're going to find a score somewhere between 20 or 30% up to 80, 90, 100%, depending on how good you are. If you're in your early stages of maturity, you'll be around 30, 40, 50% on the experience curve. If you're demonstrating maturity, then you're going to be much higher. But we don't just leave that as an organisational level maturity curve. If you've been listening to any of our podcasts, and it's great to hear feedback from listeners who have actually, you'll know that when we talk about the system of business, that it's actually a system of systems, and that we break that up into vision, market, strategy, business model, customer experience, and employee experience. And so We then allow that way to break down into 8 curves and 8 experience curves: vision curve, market curve, strategy curve, business model curve, sales, marketing, service, and employee experience curve. And so there is circa 250-ish data points across those curves, which when you take that diagnostic, is giving you a point on each of those curves to start from. So the very first thing we do is we show somebody where they are, not an individual, but an organisation. So we think the first thing you need to know in getting from point A to point B is where you are between point A and point B. That's kind of helpful. And then if you then know what the next steps are, which are really the best practice activities on the experience curve, you can actually start to look ahead and go, oh, my most likely next steps in sales or marketing or service are these 3, 4, or 5 things. So we're showing the way. And we want leaders to pick up that mantra and go, are we showing the way? Are we showing you what's next? Are we lifting your eyes forward to how you improve and how your team improves and how the organisation improves in order to get to our vision and our goal? Make sense?
Great. Yep. And so when we talk about build the system, which is the second point, are we talking about the system that we've built for organizations, or are we saying now that you know what your next few steps are, now you go off and build a system?
Yeah, the point is that good leadership is about replacing yourself. And so step 1 is show the way. So you have a set of skills. Let's say you're an organisation of 1 and you hire the next person. They come in day 1. What are you going to do? You're going to start to show them how to do the tasks and the things that you want them to do. So you're going to show the way. You're going to start to transfer skills. So in our methodology, skills always leads systems. And so we have a set of skills and we go, great, how do we compound the effect of those skills? We build a system. So we're going to show the way. We're going to build a system. We're then going to train a leader. And so the very first thing we're going to do is recognise that we need to systemise some of the skills we have. And so when we talk about skills and systems on the experience curve, we're talking about skills as things I know how to do and systems as processes, tools or software that help us do something more effectively. So a tool or a process is like a hammer. Great, I've got a hammer. Do I have the skills to hit the nail on the head? Great, a skill, a system. A hammer is a system. It's a tool, it's a process. And so we think about systems like tools. And so as I get more advanced, I might move from hitting a hammer to maybe breaking up concrete. Now I need a jackhammer. I've got a way more powerful hammer. You get where I'm going. I won't go any further because my analogy.
So this knowledge is going to break down.
So our mantra.
You could go to a wrecking ball. You could go to a wrecking ball after that.
Thank you. Yeah, great. Right up to dynamite blowing up a building. So I think you get the point. The message here is the mantra is show the way, build the system, train the leader. So how do we transfer skills out of me and I've got to lead and I've got to manage. So I'm going to show this person where they're going and I'm going to give them the skills to how to do the right thing in the right way at the right time. Cool. That's a system. Does that make sense?
Yep. And so when we're talking about training the leader, then we're talking about how to equip them to use the tools most effectively to reach point B. Yes?
Correct. Yeah. And in doing so, there's a hard skill and a soft skill transferred. The hard skill is I know how to pick up the hammer and hit it. The soft skill is, I'm beginning to understand what you're doing. You're teaching, showing, helping me understand how this hammer works to build the house. I see the house. And so the soft skill is really where the leadership starts to grow. And so we should never think about building a system and training a leader as just pure functional. Because if we are to build the system and train the leader, we should teach them how to do it for the next person. And so when I come in and see, this is how I use this tool, I'm being trained on how to use it, I'm only effective if I can do that for the next person. And otherwise, we actually haven't transferred leadership. We haven't taught leadership. We haven't showed them how to help another person get from point A to point B. We haven't replicated ourselves. So leadership is in the business of replication and compounding.
Okay, can we park on train the leader just for a moment? Seems so this episode is all about leadership. Stu, you talk about the 5 functions of a leader. And so that might actually be a really cool framework to talk about. Well, how might we actually go about training leaders or equipping leaders to get to point B?
Yeah, and look, this isn't rocket science. It's just a little mantra. To be honest, I've learned and adapted over the years, and I try and practice myself. And I've noticed it as I moved into coaching and consulting with other senior leaders, that the biggest problem we have as leaders is time to step back, time to get out of the doing and into the thinking. And so this little 5 function, it sits neatly under the Waymaker way, which is just as a leader, you need to think, you need to plan, you need to inspire, you need to equip, and you need to empower. It's really basic, but that first thing is thinking. And you could almost take your diary and you could look at it and you could go, how much of my diary is actually spent on thinking time? And most of the leaders that I listened to in those early days of listening around how their organisation is going is actually, I'm just swamped. I don't have time to think. And in fact, one of the first rules of war is to disorient your enemy. It's, go and read The Art of War. Disorienting your enemy is one of the first steps and most powerful steps to make them useless. And so some of the greatest battles in history have been won from the smaller force disorienting the larger force. And so many of our leaders and people leading get disoriented because they don't step back to reorient. Why am I doing what I'm doing? What am I achieving in doing this? How are we going? What's working? What's not? What are the divergent voices saying? What are who's arguing against me? Who's telling me different things to what I want to hear? What's that? What's going on? Where's the market moving? What are our customers really saying? What's the BS coming up the line that I need to ignore? And what's the truth coming through that I've got to grab a hold of? And, all those things take time. And my worst periods of life have been periods when I've been overscheduled, overhyped, overbusy. And my best and most profitable times of life have been when there's been margins at the edges. And because that's the time to think, which leads to better planning. So this think, plan, inspire thinking, time thinking actually helps you be a better planner, bringing the right people around you, thinking about the right things to do. And once you've planned, you've got to go and sell that plan. Hopefully you're able to inspire others who have been involved in thinking through that planning with where that's going to get us. It's the leadership bit. And then we've got to, equip and empower, which is very much who's on board? What skills and systems do you need? Great, you've got them, now get on with it. And so that little kind of 5 functions of leadership is a little mantra that I try and live by and catch myself around and help others in our team and community live around too.
So rewind 20 years ago, Stu, you and I were very good at time spent thinking with a red wine. We were quite disciplined at the thinking stage.
I think there was a few less distractions at the time.
We had no kids. That was
wives, children, businesses,
all that sort of stuff. But it's really great to see that, Waymaker has actually gone through the whole 5 and here we are empowering people to go and do it themselves. This is amazing.
I hope so. Yeah, no, it is cool. But yeah, look, I think when you're young and ideal, you do have time to think and imagine and come up with world-changing ideas. you've got to have reality checks on those and think about how to manage through them. We're talking about leadership and management. And, I often tell the story when I lived in corporation world, which was some of the best and worst times of my life. But so often a leader, a CEO would come in and sell a vision to us. And they'd go, hey, we're going to have an amazing year. We're going to sell so much. It's going to be amazing. We're going to be the market leaders and blah, 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 blah. And somewhere in there would drop out that our targets had increased, but our resources had decreased. And that the reality of the equipping for the vision didn't exist. and what was appearing was a gap. And, in this podcast and in the Waymaker world, we always talk about, the enemy is the gap. Would be this chasm between somebody thinking they're doing great leadership things, which is selling big visions, but then doing really bad management things by going, okay, we're not going to give you the skills and the resources to get there. And when you create that gap, when you don't manage well, which is equipping and empowering people, providing people with the right skills and systems to do the right things at the right time, then all you create is just that's just ivory tower talk. And so the idea of leadership is to think, plan, inspire, but to provide the right level of skills and resources and tools to get the job done. No builder in his or her right mind walks up to a building site and says, we're going to build a house, and then says, but we don't have hammers, drills, timber and materials. And, just imagine what would go on if that happened. And if you take that and you put that into typical organisation land and corporate world, how often does that happen? And so part of Waymaker is helping educate people on the ridiculous of that moment so that they can actually reap the benefit of great leadership and great management and achieve more while doing less.
So we've talked about showing the way, build the system, train the leader, and that actually, what you've just talked about takes us to our fourth point, which is hold them accountable. And I just have a question on that one before you start riffing. Is it's both downwards in the organizational chart and upwards, I would imagine. Like the accountability is both ways.
That's right. And that's how Waymaker helps organizations, because it's transparent, it's accountable. Anybody, and I'll talk about us as Waymaker, anybody inside Waymaker can see Waymaker's long-term strategic goal and all our short-term goals to get there. And you can see a name, you can see what it is, you can see the progress towards it. It's accountable. That's why we love the foundational methodology of OKRs as a goal-setting methodology. It's transparent, it's accountable, it's clear. At any given moment in time, I can see exactly where an individual is at, and that individual can see exactly where I'm at. If we're all climbing the mountain getting from point A to point B, then we all need to know where each other's at. That's kind of the first rule of outdoor ed, isn't it? If you can't see your team, stop walking. So if you can't see your team and what they're doing, stop, get on the same page and get going.
Were you in Boy Scouts, just out of curiosity?
I did what our school's equivalent was. It was called outdoor education, and I loved it. Go. I took it all the way through to year 12 before uni, and then I spent a year in England actually being a Boy Scout, kind of throwing 8 to 13-year-olds around. Yeah, it was lots of fun. Back when I looked like Chris Hemsworth. Yeah.
Yeah, that's it. Didn't we all? Show the way, build the system, train the leader, hold them accountable, and then lastly, help them win.
You only win if the people around you win. That's where this is getting to. Waymaker is set up to quickly diagnose gaps in skills and systems across the system of business, to set a roadmap of where we need to get to, and then to make clear all the goals that need to happen. And that's that means that if I have a goal and there's 3 people around me with goals, and let's say I'm leading them as a team, then I need to make sure that they've got the right goals and that those goals actually lead towards my goals being achieved. That's kind of common sense. If we're all moving together, doing different things but in the same direction, then we achieve more. If we're all doing different things, moving in different directions, then we're all doing more and achieving less. And we need to do less and achieve more. We need to make sure we're all working in the same direction and working well. So the whole point of helping them win is baked into Waymaker, this philosophy of people who have goals around you, you actually need to help them win with that goal. So we talk about roadblocks. In fact, question 1 in the 7 question is, what is our vision? Is it driven by our purpose? And what roadblocks exist to stop us getting there? And part of our basic fundamentals in the system of Waymaker, the platform, is to surface roadblocks. Is this goal still progressing well? Does it have a roadblock? If it has a roadblock, then bring that to the team. If you are blocked, then bring that to the team and let the team help you unblock that. And this is the shift in kind of 20th century mindsets into 21st century adaptive mindsets. It used to be a sin to go, I don't know, or I'm not achieving. And so you'd kind of shut up and try and hope nobody noticed. It's not a sin to stick your hand up and go, I got a roadblock. What we thought 4 weeks ago we could achieve, something's changed. I can't fix it. But I think if we come together and the 2 or 3 people around, we can all fix it together. Great, let's fix it and remove the roadblock. And so, a leader's job in equipping and empowering is to remove roadblocks. If you get the roadblocks out of the way of your team, then they can get their job done. And if you're not actively removing roadblocks, then your team isn't telling you about the roadblocks they're having, which they're guaranteed to be having. Then the communication's down, the focus is down. You're just going to get to the end of the quarter going, why didn't we get there? Oh, because this, and this, and suddenly the whole thing descends into disaster. So rapid surfacing of roadblocks under the context of help each other win, because there's only one way to play the game, and that is to win. And in order to win, you got to win together. One person doesn't win, a team wins. I'm getting on my high horse now, but I'll slow down. Yeah.
No, that's awesome. And I mean, the whole point of the Waymaker platform is to help business owners be better leaders, to identify these things, to step through these 5 points that we've just talked about: show the way, build the system, train the leader, hold them accountable, help them win. Stu, there is a course on the Waymaker Academy called Leadership and Management. Do you want to just speak into that briefly before we finish today?
Yeah, I mean, our vision is to help leaders build better organizations, which means helping them build leaders. And so Waymaker Academy is, we call it bite-sized brilliance, to help you along your way. And every user on Waymaker has free access into Waymaker Academy. There's only one current paid course, and that's to get your advisor certification if you're coaching and consulting on the platform. Everything else is free, and we intend to keep it that way. We're growing that every month, dropping new content in. So jump in, search Leadership and Management. There's Foundational Leadership Management 101, what we've been talking about. If you're a leader or a manager, share it with your team. Get them to jump through it. It's super simple stuff. And these are the things that someone jokingly said to me, you can do in the coffee shop, on the bus on the way home, or sitting on the toilet. It's a short course that'll take you no more than 5 to 15 minutes to get through. And that will help you instill the inspiration of where you're going, and also equip and empower them to think about leadership in a new and better way.
That's awesome. As always, Stu, it's great to chat to you about all things leadership, management, world-changing paradigms, etc. But we would encourage anybody who's listening to jump on waymaker.io, sign up for a free trial. You can access that leadership and management course when you sign up for the free trial, right? So jump on there, do the free trial, cancel your subscription. Doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter. You know what? Do we care? Of course we care. But if that's helped you, then fine, do that.
Do that.
And if you can't afford your subscription, just reach out to us and talk to us. We'll help you anyway.
Oh, look at that. All right. Well, Stu, as always, it's great to chat to you. I love talking about how to achieve more by doing less. And we're going to do that again in our next episode.